Harold and Chalmers. Vizeran and Dolan are aware of Harold's friendship with Belphoebe. Shay and Chalmers argue there are strong differences of opinion on how to safeguard the young woodsman lady. Harold makes his way out of the castle at night and meets up with Belphoebe. The two express their friendship, and at one point, Harold suggests she come back with him when he and Chalmers return. She asks what she would do, and Harold said vaguely, "Oh, we'll figure something out. Doc and I could see to it that you were." Uh, uh, that puts us on the mid-page 172 as Belphoebe responds.
Harold, what are you proposing? Think not that because I lead a free, roving life, I...
No. I didn't mean...
What then?
He thought again. One obvious solution was staring him in the face, yet to bring it up so early might spoil everything. Still, nothing ventured. He drew a deep breath and plunged.
You could marry me.
Belphoebe's mouth fell open. It was some seconds before she answered.
You jest, good squire.
Not at all. People do it in my country, you know, just like here.
But knew you not that I am affianced to Squire Timaeus?
It was Shay's turn to stare blankly.
Nay, good friend, take it not so to heart. I had thought it known to the world, else I should have told you. The fault was mine.
No, I mean, it wasn't. Let's skip it.
Skip it?
Belphoebe said wonderingly. Shay bent over his rabbit haunch, muttering something about the meat being good.
Be not angry, Harold. Not willingly would I hurt you, for I like you well, and had I known you sooner, but my word is given.
I suppose so. What sort of man is your friend Timaeus?
He wondered whether the question had a useful purpose, or whether he was showing a slight touch of masochism in keeping the painful subject alive. Belphoebe's face softened.
A most sweet boy, shrinking and sensitive, not like those brawling nightly ruffians.
What are his positive qualities?
Why, he can sing a madrigal better than most.
Is that all?
I know not what you mean. 'Tis even the core of the matter, that he's no bold, confident venturer. The core of the matter, that he's no bold, confident venturer like yourself.
Doesn't sound to me like much of a reason for marrying anybody. I came across a lot of cases like that in my psych work. Usually, the woman lived to regret it.
Belphoebe jumped up angrily.
So, squire, you inquire of my privy affairs, that you may sting me with your adder's tongue? Fie on you! It regards not you whom I marry, or why.
Shay grinned offensively.
I was just making general remarks. If you want to take them personally, that's your lookout. I still say a woman is taking a lousy chance to marry a human rabbit in the hope of making a lion out of it.
A murrain on your general remarks. And you would company me? I'll thank you to keep your long tongue in its proper groove. Better rabbit than fox with pretense of marriage.
What do you mean, pretense? I meant that when I said it. Though now I see that maybe it wasn't such a good idea.
Oh, you do? You change your mind quickly. I'll warrant me you'd have done so in any case.
Shay got himself under control.
Let's not go any further with this, Belphoebe. I'm sorry I made those cracks about your boyfriend. I won't mention him again. Let's be friends.
Belphoebe's anger wilted.
And right sorry I am that I threw your proposal in your face, Squire Harold. 'Twas a sad discourtesy.
Shay was surprised to see a trace of moisture in her eye. She blinked rapidly and smiled.
So we are friends, and our breakfast done. Let us be on.
The new sun was a patch of flecks of orange fire through the foliage. They found a sluggish little stream and had to squeeze through the thickets on its banks. They reached a stretch of drier ground where the glades expanded to continuous meadow, and the forest shrank to clumps of trees. They left one of these clumps and were swishing through the long grass when a leathery rustle made them look up. Overhead swooped a nightmarish reptile the size of an observation plane. It had 2 legs and a pair of huge bat wings. On its back rode Busy-Rain, all clad in armor, but his face, which was smiling benignly.
Well met, dear friends. What a pleasing thought, both at once.
Twunk went Belphoebe's bow. The arrow soared through one wing membrane. The beast hissed a little and banked for a turn.
Into the woods!
Cried Belphoebe and set the example.
The wyvern cannot fly among the trees.
What did you call it? Looks like some kind of a long-tailed pterodactyl to me.
Shay craned his neck as the sinister shadow wove to and fro above the leaves. Belphoebe led the way to the opposite side of the grove. When Busy-Rain circled above the segment away from them, they dashed across the open space and into the next clump. A shrill hiss behind them warned them that they had been spotted. They worked their way through this grove. From under the trees they could see Busy-Rain silhouetted against the sky, while he couldn't see them.
Ow!
Belphoebe ran like an antelope through the long grass. Shay pounded after. This was a longer run than the first, 100 yards or more. Halfway across, he heard the hiss of cloven air behind him and drove himself for all his strained lungs were worth. The shadow of the monster unblurred in front of him. It was too far, and then he was under the friendly trees. He caught a glimpse of the reptile horribly close, pulling up in a stall to avoid the branches. Shay leaned against a trunk, puffing.
How much more of this is there?
Belphoebe's face had a frown.
Woe is me. I fear this forest thins ere it thickens. But let's see.
He worked around the edges of the grove, but it was small, and the distance to all others but the one they had come from prohibitively great.
It looks like we'll have to go back.
I like that. I like not that. Assuredly, he will not have pursued us alone.
True for you. I think I see something there.
He pointed to a group of distant figures, pink in the rising sun. Belphoebe gave a little squeak of dismay.
Ah! Alack! Now we are undone, for they are a numerous company. If we stay, they surround us. If we flee, Busy-Rain follows on that grim mount. What are you doing?
Shay had gotten out his knife and was whittling the base of a tall sapling.
You'll see. This worked once and ought to again. You're good at tree climbing. See if you can find a bird's nest. I need a fistful of feathers.
She went, puzzled but obedient. When she returned with the feathers, Shay was rigging up a contraption, a sapling trunk and twigs tied together with ivy vine. He hoped it wasn't poison ivy. It bore some resemblance to an enormous broom. As Shay lashed a couple of crosspieces to the stick, he explained,
The other one I made, a single-seater. This'll have to carry tandem. Let's see the feathers, kid.
He tossed one aloft, repeating the dimly remembered spell he had used once before, and then shoved it in among the twigs.
Now, I'm the pilot, and you're the gunner. Get astride here. Think you can handle your bow while riding this thing?
What will it do?
She was looking at Shay with new respect.
We're going up to tackle Busy Rain in his own element. Say, look at that mob. We better get going.
As the pursuers came nearer, thrashing the bushes of the nearby groves in their hunt, Shay could see that they were a fine collection of monsters, men with animal heads, horrors with 3 or 4 arms, bodies, and faces rearing from the legless bottoms of snakes. They straddled the broom. Shay chanted.
By oak, ash, and yew, to high air through, to slay this vile caitiff. Fly swiftly and true.
The broom started with a rush, up a long slant. As it shot out of the grove and over the heads of the nearest of the pursuit, they broke into a chorus of shouts, barks, roars, meows, screams, hisses, bellows, chirps, squawks, and snarls, brays, growls, and whinnies. The effect was astounding. But Shay's mind was occupied. He was pleased to observe that this homemade broom seemed fairly steady, though slower than the one he had hexed in the land of Scandinavian myth. He remembered vaguely that in aerial dogfighting the first step is to gain an advantage in altitude. Up they went in a spiral. Busy Rain came into view on his wyvern, beating toward them. The enchanter had his sword out, but as the wyvern climbed after them, Shay was relieved to see that he was gaining. A couple of 100 feet above the enemy, he swung the broom around. Over his shoulder, he said,
Get ready. We're going to dive on them.
Then he noticed that Belphoebe was gripping the stick with both hands, her knuckles white.
Ever been off the ground before?
Nay, O Squire Harold, this is a new and very fearsome thing. When I look down...
She shuddered and blinked.
Don't let a little acrophobia throw you. Look at your target, not the ground.
I essay.
Good girl.
Shay nosed the broom down. The wyvern glared up, and opened its fanged jaws. He aimed straight for the red-lined maw. At the last minute, he swerved aside, heard the jaws clomp vainly, and the bowstring snap.
Missed!
She was looking positively green under her freckles. Shay, no roller coaster addict, guessed how she felt.
Steady.
He said, nosing up and then dodging as the wyvern flapped toward them with surprising speed.
We'll try a little shallower dive.
Shay came down again. The wyvern turned too. Shay didn't bank far enough, and he was almost swept into the jaws by the centrifugal force of his own turn. They went clomp a yard from the tail of the bottom.
Oof. Hear anything?
Busy Rain, but it hit him not. He bears armor of proof, and belike some magic garment as well.
Try to wing the wyvern, then.
They shot past the beast, well beyond the reach of the scaly neck. Twunk! An arrow fixed itself among the plates behind the head. But the wyvern, appearing unhurt, put on another burst of speed, and Shay barely climbed over its rush, with Busy Rain yelling beneath them. Belphoebe had her acrophobia under control now. She leaned over and let go 3 more arrows in rapid succession. One bounced off the reptile's back plates. One went through a wing membrane. The third stuck in its tail. None of them bothered it.
I know. We aren't penetrating its armor at this range. Hold on. I'm going to try something.
They climbed. When they had good altitude, Shay dove past the wyvern. It snapped at them, missed, and dove in pursuit. The wind whistled in Shay's ears and blurred his vision. Forest and glade opened out below. Little dots expanded to the pursuers on foot. Shay glanced back. The wyvern hung in space behind, its wings half furled. He leveled out, then jerked the broom's nose up sharply. The universe did a colossal somersault, and they strayed away behind the wyvern. In the seconds the loop had taken, the beast had lost sight of them. Shay nosed down, and they glided in right under the right wing, so close they could feel the air go with the wing beat. Shay got one glimpse of Busy Rain's astonished face before the wing hit it. The scaly skin pulsed over the immense flying muscles for one beat.
Now!
Twunk, twunk. Belphoebe had drawn the bow hard home, and the arrows tore into the beast's brisket. There was a whistling scream, then catastrophe. The wide wing whammed down on the aviators, almost knocking Shay from his seat. They were no longer flying, but tumbling over and over downward. The top of the tree slashed at Shay's face. Dazedly, he heard the wyvern crash and tried to right the broom. It nosed up into a loop and hung. A cry from behind him, receding toward the earth, froze him. He saw Belphoebe tumbled into the grass 20 feet down, and a wave of the monster men closed over her. Shay manhandled his broomstick around, fervently wishing he had a lighter one. A pursuit job. By the time he had got it aimed at the place where he had last seen Belphoebe, there was no sign of her, or of Busy Rain either. The wyvern sprawled bloatedly in the grass, with hundreds of the enchanter's allies swarming around it. Shay drew his épée and dove at the thick of them. They screeched at him, some of them producing clumsy beast bows. He swooped toward a monster with a crocodile head as the strings began snapping. The arrows went far behind, but just as Shay stiffened his arm for the gliding thrust, crocodile head thinned to a puff of mist. The épée met no resistance. As Shay held his glide parallel with the ground, he found the crowding monsters disappearing before him. He pulled up, looking back. They were materializing behind. More arrows buzzed past. He circled, cutting another swath through them. No sign of Belphoebe. A third charge. An arrow caught in his cloak. The flint head of another drove through his boot and a quarter inch into his calf. The goblins were learning anti-aircraft fire, but of Belphoebe there was still no sign. And now the ghostmen were streaming toward him out of the woods on all sides. In every direction they were hopping, yelling, drawing their crude bows. He climbed out of bowshot and circled, looking. No luck. It would have to be some other way. He felt slightly sick. He went up higher, till the vast green expanse of Losel Woods spread out before him. The sun was well up. Under it, he fancied he could see the region where he had tangled with Dodurga. Beyond should be the edge of the forest, where he and Chalmers had met their first Losels.
I guess that's it for this one today.
We
Yes.
said chapter 10.
Good
yes?
job.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
that was quite a dog fight there. Master the broom. All right. Well, Laura Lila, already on stage. You might as well call up your cast of
Might
None
as
But
well.
Lucifer.
Okay, well, the readers tonight will be the narrator